to another wonderful episode of Musical People and Journeys. I'm your host, Nigel. Welcome to Chris, to Trish, and to Simon. Welcome back, gang.
Good morning.
If it's your first time listening, we review the latest rock albums, rate them out of 5. They get 4 or more. They could get into our Hall of Fame, and maybe even for Album of the Year. And today we are reviewing Powerwolf and their new album, Wicked. Will it be Wicked? Who are Powerwolf? It's a German power metal band formed in 2003 by members of Red Aim. The band consists of vocalist Karsten Brill as Attila Dorn, lead guitarist Benjamin Buss, Matthew Greywolf, bassist and rhythm guitarist David Vogt as Charles Greywolf, keyboardist Christian Jost as Falk Maria Schlegel, and drummer Roel van Helden. The group uses religious themes and images contrary to traditional power metal music, as well as corpse paint, gothic-tinged compositions and songs about werewolf and vampire legends. The released debut album returned to Bloodred in 2005. The second album, Lupus Dei, was released in 2007. The band entered the official German charts for the first time in 2009 with their third album, Bible of the Beast, and shortly after it released, their first drummer, Stefan Gemballa, stage name Stéfane Funèbre, left the band. He was replaced by Tom, who was replaced in 2011 by Roel. In the same year, the band released their fourth album, Blood of the Saints, in 2012. Powerwolf signed with Napalm Records and released Preachers of the Night in 2013. It has debuted number 1 in Germany. Their sixth album, Blessed and Possessed, released in 2015, was certified gold in the Czech Republic, and their seventh album, Sacrament of Sin, was released in 2018. Their eighth album, Call of the Wild, was released in 2021, and their ninth, Interludium, was released in 2023. Now, the reason I've kind of read that is that we did review Interludium, and it was a little bit there was some opposition and there was some love, because obviously there was some love.
It was divisive.
It was divisive. It scored 3.9, but I hated it. I only give it a 2, and Trish went meh, only give it a 3. And I think our expectations were obviously quite high, because Will and both Simon were massive fans of Powerwolf, talked them up big time, so expectations were really high. So we'll leave Simon to last, because we don't want to go sycophantic, do we? Really, let's be brutally honest about it. And Will's not with us today, so let's start with Cully, because Cully wasn't with us when we did Powerwolf. So let's start with you. There's a fresh set of ears and eyes. What did you think of Powerwolf and Wicked? And were they a band that you had listened to before?
So yes and no. I've heard Powerwolf in the car with a couple of friends, one of whom is usually with us on the channel. So I've heard some of the songs, but I haven't listened to them as a group and haven't listened to their albums before. It's the sort of stuff that I would usually like. So it's the sort of symphonic power metal. I confess, most of the time through most of the album, I was expecting it to drop into the sort of metalcore screamer type vibe, because it just felt like that was where it was going to go, and thankfully it didn't. The lyrics, they stay clean. He's got a proper kind of gravel to his voice, though, so it verges on the edge of it, but it manages to steer away from it. And I quite like there's a couple of places where they've either got a choir or some choral overtones in some of the songs as well, which was really good. But it doesn't really feel that different from most of the rest of their back catalogue, if you see what I mean. I've dug into a couple as part of listening to this one, and also just from what I've heard before, and I wouldn't really be able to pick a difference out from a couple of their albums. It just kind of feels like they're in a groove. They know what they want to do, which is great if you're interested in that sort of thing. But I think possibly with the other albums that we're reviewing this month as well, it just kind of felt a bit the same as a lot of others, which is unfortunate, because what they do well, but there's quite a few people doing it at the same time as well. So I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Well, somebody who we both like, but we also love, Trish. Now, was there a Powerwolf redemption from you after that previous Interludium album?
Was there now? So This is Powerwolf back and doing what they do best with their signature sound, stories in the songs right from the get-go, with Bless Them With The Blade and so forth. I particularly loved Sinners of the Sea, Wake Up the Wicked, which had me singing along after a couple of listens. But standout track for me had to be 1589, with the spine-tingling piano at the beginning of the track leading to the crescendo of the chorus. For me, I loved all the tracks on this album and didn't realise the time going before I knew it had finished and had put it on repeat. A good strong welcome return and offering from Powerwolf.
Ooh, so Redemption Stage 1, maybe. What do you think then? Our Powerwolf, well, one of our Powerwolf aficionados, sycophantic, call them what you want. Simon, what did you think of Powerwolf?
I mean, Bless Him With The Blade is a banger of an opening track. It's just pure Powerwolf on display. And then they put their talent out there and mix it up with Sins of the Seven Seas, and then the album just continues to power on from there. 1859 is fantastic and just screams of Sabaton, right? I love Joan of Arc for its choral singing. The tempos kicks into this high gear with the suitably named Thunder Priest. And then the album closes out with Vargamore featuring the shredding guitar solo, and it adds the nice calm note to the album. Overall, I love it. I love Powerwolf. They're an amazing band. They're amazing to see live, even if they will burn your face off with pyro. And this album is everything I love about Powerwolf on display. I think it's an amazing album.
So, one of the reasons that I give, because I went back to my notes and I give Interludium a 2, was I thought it was incredibly generic. I mean, it literally felt that every song was pretty much the same. It was, and I was incredibly disappointed with that. And actually, the first 2 tracks in this album, I'm going, oh God, here we go again. They were okay, but I felt they were just pretty generic, really. And then suddenly, what was the same? Was it
Clitorum?
Suddenly, this band transformed into this symphonic power metal aficionados. The rest of the album was unreflective of those 2 opening songs. It transformed itself into a absolutely sensational, right up my street cup of tea. I mean, and it justified everything I thought I'd previously said about Powerwolf with Interludium, where it was just bog standard. This was not. The rest of the album was incredibly varied. I love the symphonic. It just varied up massively and it hooked me in, and it was hooks, and more hooks. I thoroughly enjoyed the rest of the album. I thought it was just terrific. And some of the symphonic, which obviously, and actually for me, it just emphasised more my taste in power metal, which is more towards that symphonic stuff. So. Kiri, Heretic Hunters was just absolutely brilliant. Absolutely loved it, and I agree with Simon. The final track for Gora was just sensational. So yeah, loved it. Redemption, tick in the box. Apart from those 2 opening tracks, which I thought were a bit just generic, Iron Maiden-y kind of vibe to them. Really, didn't think much of them. The rest of the album, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So loved it. So there we go. You've converted me. You have brought me back and demonstrated that the Powerwolf is worthy. Simon, what would you say in terms of their back catalogue was their best album then?
Oh, jeez.
Here's a spot. Let's put you on it.
I think, I mean, for me, maybe Blessed and Possessed just because of Army of the Night, but I kind of, because I listen to them through Spotify and stuff, I kind of like, I don't define them by just the individual albums usually.
Sure.
I've got like a mix of them all over. Call of the Wild probably has some of my other favourites, like Revenant of Rats and stuff. But yeah, I think there's lots of really good stuff throughout all of their albums.
Cool. Well, will it this time? They were short last time. They didn't get into our Hall of Fame. Will they get into our Hall of Fame this time round? Will they maybe get into our shortlist for Album of the Year? Let's find out. I'm going to kick it off with William's score because it's going to be blatantly obvious. William, give it a 5. There we go. Simon.
I mean, surprise! Gave it a 5.
Trish.
I gave it a 5.
Woohoo! Oh, hold on a minute here. Hold on a minute. Are we on for the Holy Trinity of 5s? Chris.
Sorry to let everyone down. I gave it a 3.5.
Oh, it would have got it anyway because it didn't get a 5. If it wasn't for those 2 opening tracks, which I thought were fairly okay, I give it a 4. So I was borderline 4.5, and then you know what? Actually, let's be honest with yourself. The first 2 tracks were. I would skip the first 2 tracks and start with Curious, which means that as an album, I couldn't give it more than that. But thoroughly enjoyed it. Therefore, it scored 4.5. 22.5. It is into our Hall of Fame. It is our joint 11th favourite album of all time. So that's pretty damn good. It is currently in 5th spot in our Album of the Year, which probably puts it very likely it's going to get an automatic place into our Album of the Year show. So there we go. So Powerwolf, has powered itself into our top charts. It is a cracking album. Let's make no bones about that as well. And if you like your symphonic metal, then you're going to love this album. Oh, I tell you what, guys, Album of the Year is hotting up, isn't it? Hotting up. So there we go. Exciting times. Thank you very much to my wonderful panel, to Simon, to Trish, and to Chris, and to obviously to William. Take care. Keep on rocking out there. Please, by the way, do you agree? Disagree? Maybe like? Maybe subscribe? Be crazy? What did you think of this new power? Do you think it's a return to form? Speak soon. Goodbye. Keep rocking.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.